Hello, good afternoon. It's time for the marketplace. My name is Charles Aitib. Coming up, the Bank of Ghana has maintained the policy rate at 14.5% for the sixth time. An economist says that the move is justified. But what about Ghanaian traders and their lending power? Guta joins us shortly. Also, banking consultant Nana Otua Champon pleads with Parliament to allow the courts to decide on the revocation of UT and Unibank licenses. We'll hear his argument. And later, Head of Financial Advisory at Deloitte joins us live on updates from the Deloitte Economic Dialogue, where the Trade Minister says the 2021 budget made provision for Ghanaian businesses to succeed under the Continental Free Trade Agreement area. We have all these stories and more coming up shortly after this break. This day. Hello and welcome. We start with the Bank of Ghana because it has maintained the policy rate at 14.5%. Now, this is the sixth time running since it took this decision. Already, economist and financial lecturer Lord Mensah says the current economic fundamentals warrant the preservation of the policy rate, of course, which is the rate at which the commercial banks borrow from the Bank of Ghana at 14.5%. The Bank of Ghana, for the second time running this year, kept the key lending rate unchanged. The MPC cited emerging short-term pressures from the rising crude oil prices, as well as direct and secondary price effects of the revenue measures in the 2021 budget as risk to the outlook. Dr. Mensah tells Joy Business that he's not surprised at all about the positioning of the Bank of Ghana.
Between 1963 to now, many businesses in Ghana, and I'm talking about big businesses in Ghana, have not bothered to do this re-registration. So what they are telling me is they've not also filed annual returns. And under the laws, I can go ahead and dissolve you. And that's what I want to do now. I want to kickstart that process of dissolving and taking dormant companies off my register. So if you know you are not dormant, if you know you are seriously doing business in Ghana, then please come and inform me whether you are still operating in Ghana by filing your annual return and your financial statement. If for any reason you haven't even done business since 1963 to date, no problem. We file.
Well, apologies there, that's a wrong insert. But of course, this particular move by the Bank of Ghana has some remit in terms of effects on the trading community. Let's now cross over to join the president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, Dr. Joseph Obin, who joins us via Zoom to bring us his perspectives on how this impacts the lending power of traders. Doc, we're so grateful that you joined us.
So very much.
All right, so of course, the rate at which the BOG lends to banks has been maintained for the second time this year, the sixth time in record. How does this impact your lending power as traders?
Yeah, we normally want this exercise to manifest in the lending rates. And so if the base rate is maintained or even lowered, and it doesn't trickle down the commercial lending rate, then no work is done. The major worry of businesses today is cost of borrowing, and I think from the way things are, we are not finding solution to this, and that's why I will urge government to fund some mechanism that can help the commercial rates to come down, especially when the base rates are relatively lower. It's not pulling down the commercial rates. It's not fair for the rates to be around 20, 22, 23, 26%. It's very high. If you compare it to our neighboring countries and the rest of the world, we are not competitive at all, and especially when we are even thinking about the Continental Free Trade Area. I think we'll be the last country to think about being relevant in the whole scheme of affairs of the Continental Free Trade. So government should think seriously around this problem. Though we have liberalization of our economy, the Bank of Ghana is exercising the liberalization scheme on how to control the banks. But there should be some control control systems in place also. Otherwise, we cannot just leave the banks to do whatever they want and then punish the business communities. It's not helping. And that's why we also are grateful the fact that government want to come out with the National Development Bank so that interest rates will be subsidized for businesses. If government cannot control the banks, then that's the only alternative way they can service in this regard, and it should be done quickly also.
Well, Doc, we've also been engaging with the banking fraternity, and of course, one of the main issues that they often raise with us is the fact that the risk involved, especially within the span of traders, is so high. Hence, most of these turnovers. In your view, how can we de-risk the market to ensure that lending rates are much more easier? Access to credit, actually, is much more easier.
Yeah. What is the reason for saying that the risk factor? That's why they have the mechanism in place. So they have to stop those people who are risking for their business. That assessment, that reasoning is not fair for businesses. Otherwise, how are you passing on the negligence of the banks itself? The fact that they are not doing the necessary due diligences to make sure that the right people only source these loans, for them to spread unnecessary risk for all customers. Why don't they compensate those who pay their loans, as against those who do not pay, who should be punished? But you can't lump us all together and then spread the risk to even the one who pay. There's no sense in that argument that they bring, and government should sit down with them and then other stakeholders so that we should know. Otherwise, it's a rip-off. The bank are taking undue advantage on the business community. There should be controls. The fact that we are in a liberal economy shouldn't mean that the financial sector, there shouldn't be any controls at all.
All right.
For banks to rip us off. Other jurisdictions brought innovative systems to force the banks to loan money at affordable rates to the business community and the general citizens at large.
All right.
And so there should be something that need to be done in this regard, so that we can have our respite to do business and to make ourselves meaningful in the business. Because this time we don't do business in isolation.
Great.
We are doing this business globally.
Great.
And all other countries are coming. You see, our neighboring countries,
sure,
their interest rate hovers around 8%, 10%, and 12%, and ours is 26%. It means that we cannot do anything, and that's why we cry about unemployment and all this. Because businesses can naturally not thrive under such a condition.
Dr. Obin, we're so grateful that you joined us. He's the president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association. The Coalition of Concerned Teachers Ghana, of course, the Ghana National Association of Teachers and Conference Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools have given the National Food and Buffer Stock Company a 2-week ultimatum to address the undersupply of food to the schools. They made this call while speaking with Joy Business after a closed-door meeting with the Buffer Stock Company and the Ministry of Food and Agriculture at Accra City Hotel. Here's more.
Closed-door meeting was held on Monday, 22nd March 2021 to address food shortage in various senior high schools across the country. It followed a press release by the Coalition of Concerned Teachers Ghana, Ghana National Association of Teachers, and Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, which threatened to close down schools if immediate action was not taken by close of Friday, March 19, 2021. NAT and the Coalition of Concerned Teachers Ghana, however, expressed hope and extended the deadline.
By the close of next week, they should be able to get enough food to all the schools. And we've also indicated to them that all things being equal, beginning Friday, which is this week, we will start monitoring up to next week Friday to see whether or not what they've told us they've done it or not. But the insurance, they've given us assurance that all things being equal, by next week Friday, the work will be done. Once you come to a table, the key word there is good faith.
Yeah.
Now we believe that they will demonstrate that good faith.
And indeed, it is in the interest of the buffer stock to make sure that food goes to the schools, because if the food do not go to the schools and the students are in the schools, we all can imagine what will happen. So indeed, within the next 2 weeks, we hope and believe that everything will be done.
The Ministry of Food and Agriculture, however, explained that the timing of the reopening of schools was inappropriate, hence the delay in supply of food items to senior high schools. According to Asante Krobia, technical advisor to the minister, there was a delay in distributing food items due to uncertainty caused by COVID-19 in reopening schools, as most of the items are perishable and could not be stored for long. Mr. Krobia acknowledged the concerns raised by the unions. He, however, held the view that there is abundance of food, hence no cause for worry.
The concern of the 3 teacher unions about supplies of food to the schools is quite genuine, but I would say that it's not a problem. It's not a problem on the point that because of the COVID situation, a lot of things have been disrupted. Not that there's no food in the country. Because of government's flagship program, Planning for Food and Jobs, there is a lot of food in the system, but only that the timing of opening of schools was not so certain. When we look at when arrangements were made to open schools somewhere in June, it has to be shifted because of COVID, and it kept on postponing. You know, food items are perishable, and you can't store them with uncertainty. There should be proper planning before you have to make sure that you're going to give the students quality food.
Meanwhile, CEO of the National Food Buffer Stock Company, Hanan Abdul Wahab, said his outfit was fully aware of the situation even before the 3 teacher associations released their press statement. He further hinted that preparations are underway to solve the issue.
Back to one of our leading stories. The Minister for Trade and Industry, Alan Tremantin, says there's much more defense for the 2021 budget, especially when it best pushes the Ghanaian business ahead of their African counterpart on the Continental Free Trade Agreement area. According to him, the suspension of tax stamp for small businesses and initiatives in the budget will ensure that a conducive business environment is created. Alan was speaking at the Economic Dialogue on the 2021 budget organized by Auditing Firm Deloitte. Of course, we're joined by its head of financial advisory, Yao Late, who is, of course, monitoring events as they unfold at this particular forum. We're so grateful, Yao, that you joined us for this program. First of all, you used the occasion to advise businesses to take advantage of the suspension of penalty on outstanding tax liabilities to clear the taxes and begin on a positive recovery. If you could expatiate this particular pointer you made.
Okay, so thank you very much. I think our budget dialogue, the Deloitte budget dialogue, was organized in the context of making Ghana a hub for the Africa Continental Free Trade. And one of the key points that came out during the dialogue was the fact that Ghanaian businesses will have to remain competitive if we seek to take advantage of AFTA. So, for instance, if we have excessive taxation on our businesses, the prices of the goods and services that will be exported outside Ghana will not be competitive relative to other goods and services from countries that do not have taxes at our levels. So I think we advise businesses to position themselves to take advantage of the opportunities that the Africa Continental Free Trade Area offers for their businesses. You certainly, business in Ghana have got a bigger African market to benefit from. So with that, I guess our advice to businesses that they should take advantage of all the opportunities that are available within the 2021 budget statement and economic policy of government. I think of particular importance is the rebates and incentives that government gives to businesses. So some of the incentives that we noted was the fact that government has waived penalties and interest on unpaid taxes or on accrued taxes up to December 2020. As we know, businesses that have very huge taxable or tax payable over the period, if you compute interest, which are compounded over the period that the tax is accrued, there are some form of disincentive to businesses. So businesses are not incentivized to pay these taxes. Government has given some form of what we call amnesty to businesses to come along, pay the tax, declare the taxes, voluntarily pay without any interest, without penalties on them. And that's an advantage that business should just pursue and go for. The other thing is waiver of some taxes. I guess the popular term that government will be using will be the nuisance taxes, taxes on petty traders, truck drivers, and so on and so forth. I think those taxes easily get passed on to consumers. And given that we have new taxes introduced, if those taxes were still there, we are going to have massive increases in transport fares. And so what we are thinking, or what we are advising business, that look, once some of these taxes have been removed or taken out completely, we expect that to business to benefit from that.
All right. But yeah, in spite of the goodies that you listed, of course, the budget has also been described by many as austere, looking at the various instruments that government introduced, taxes, levies, and whatnot, and the cuts in expenditure. But speaking of the Continental Free Trade Agreement area, arguably, one can say that nothing was said about that one. So to hear the Trade Minister make this particular opinion is much more of a comparative analysis. What does Deloitte stand on the imports of AFTA when it comes to the 2021 budget?
Yeah, so I think in the budget, it wasn't as elaborate, but there were some pointers in there as to what government is doing to support business take advantage of AFTA. And I think we got the advantage of having the trade minister give a lot more explanation and a lot more information as to what the ministry or the government will be doing to support businesses going forward. So in essence, government is creating various platforms, stakeholder engagements, like the minister making himself available for the Deloitte dialogue. I think all of those are to help businesses, enlighten them. One thing that has been noted during our stakeholder engagements that the knowledge and the education around AFTA is very low. A lot of businesses do not know what the opportunities are for them and AFTA. And so government should continuously engage.
Okay.
The second point to also note is value addition. We have to add value to the products that we are producing from the country. And so government should create the needed environment so that business can add value to our products so that they can remain competitive in terms of quality and price.
All right. But yeah, even as we talk about businesses, we cannot, let go the import of the banking fraternity. You are the head of financial advisory with Deloitte, and I believe that you interact more with most of these persons within the banking industry. Now we're hearing of the 5% profit before tax. They call it the banking sector cleanup levy. How should banks navigate their way through this particular introduction under the Continental Free Trade? Because remember that even though we have indigenous banks, most of the other, Pan-African banks, international banks would have to be competing for the limited space in AFTA. How can they navigate their way through?
I think that appears to be some form of challenge for our banking industry, particularly if you take note of the fact that we have national fiscal stabilization levy of 5%, and then we are going to add on this tax of another 5%. So effectively, banks are going to pay 10% of their profit before tax. That comes before you pay 25%. So technically, banks are paying 35% of their profit as taxes. That, if you compare that to what we're going to be competing with, because the Ghanaian bank is not only going to supply services to Ghanaians, it's going to be an African-wide thing. So if you are providing loans and advances to customers in other places or supporting business outside Ghana, and you are giving loans at certain interest rate that is not competitive, then our banks may not be in a position to support the Africa Continental Free Trade agenda. So what we are asking government to do is that maybe in the short to medium term, it should review the policy.
All right.
Because what was stated in the budget, that this is for just 4 years. The bankers have raised that issue, that when we introduced the National Fiscal Stabilization Levy, it was supposed to be for about 5 years or so, or 3 years. Now it's been more than 20 years that the levy is still there. So if we have another one that's been introduced for 4 years, what's the guarantee that it will be removed after 4 years? So the banks have raised issues to that. But I think what we would advise the banking sector to do is to look for other opportunities. I guess beyond Ghana, there are other opportunities to collaborate with partners outside Ghana who will be able to finance projects outside Ghana, get the benefits of it, and then proceed.
Yeah, Olaito, we're grateful that he joined us. He's the head of financial advisory with Deloitte, of which they're holding an economic forum on AFTA and everything business related. Well, still on the banking industry, banking consultant Nanaotu Achampon is pleading with Parliament to allow the court to decide on the revocation of UT and Unibank's licenses. This follows petitions by the two liquidated banks to Parliament, which could be heard this week. They are seeking the House to overturn the revocation of their license by the Bank of Ghana. But Nanaotu Achampon tells Joy Business it may not be prudent for Parliament to institute another review when the case is in court for some arbitration.
I think that is something that, it should have been aware that once a case is in court, allow the court process to finish before, if it can is to be raised, it can be raised. So once the case is in court, we have to leave it to the court of competent jurisdiction to arrive at the decisions that they have to arrive at. So I think it was premature to have made that attempt to petition Parliament, but then it's within one's human right to do what one feels is right. So let's wait to see what the courts come up with, and then you move on from there.
Updated as in when we do have information on this development. But away from that, the Civil and Local Government Staff Association Ghana has petitioned the National Pensions Authority over alleged submission of processing forms for retiree, which is likely to deny their members the full benefit on retirement. According to ClockServe, the said form was designed in a manner that denied pensioners any further claims thereafter. The association said that coercing retirees to such declaration forms was wrong. Let's hear Executive Secretary of ClockSAC, Isaac Bampo Ado.
I think for the past months, the petitions have been pouring in, day in, every day, with various issues relating to how they have been shortchanged, relating to their pension benefits. So the petitions are every day. The petitions are coming. So far, about 150 petitions on pension issues we have received. What actions have you taken? Well, we have notified and petitioned the NPRA, since they are the regulators relating to pensions, and our good selves and SNIT. We are all being regulated by NPRA, so that is the authority. So we've given them 2 weeks since last week. We want to see what action NPRA will take against SNIT related to these issues, because it's very clear that our pensioners are being given a raw deal. The ignorant ones are being paid kofi pension. And as an association, I don't think we will sit by and allow our members to be cheated. We'll be having some meetings. Currently, we are yet to conclude the formula. The technical teams have met, and we're about to conclude the formula for the calculation of benefits. That's why we are at a loss, that whilst the formula has not been concluded, SNIT is coercing our retirees to sign a declaration accepting the bogus formula they are using to calculate pension benefits. It's bad faith. It's bad faith. I think you should ask you that question. You are part of the committee. We've not concluded on the formula, and then this bogus formula you are using to calculate pensions for our retirees, you are now forcing them to sign a declaration that they accept the basis of the computation. It is bad faith. We won't sit by for our members to take kofi pension. No way. Mind you, we are all coming. We also go on pension, and if these things are not corrected now, when we go to pension, you should imagine. So this is the time to fight. We are fighting for our good selves too. And imagine somebody working for 39 years, and for 28 years, SNIT contribution to SNIT, 28 years contribution to SNIT, he was given 8,000 Ghana cedis. And for 11 years of contribution to the second tier, to the Hedge Pension Trust, he was given 24,000. 11 years, 24,000. 28 years 15, 8,000. You see the huge gap. So what are they doing with the money?
Concerns from Clocksack ending marketplace, but a recap of our top stories. The Bank of Ghana has maintained the policy rate at 14.5% for the 6th time. Of course, we did hear from an economist who says the move is justified, but the Ghanaian Traders Association Goods president says more needs to be done to ensure the trickle-down effect on the average trader is felt. Also, banking consultant Benoto Achampon pleads with Parliament to allow the courts to decide on the revocation of UT and Unibank licenses. Plus, as we did hear via Zoom, Head of Financial Advisory at Deloitte, Joy, of course, has been explaining to us the need for businesses to reposition themselves on after, especially when the Trade Minister says businesses are far off in the 2021 budget when it comes to their preparation for the single African market. My name is Charles Aitim. Many thanks for watching.